In today's video, we're going to explain how we create this SEO writing template that has generated thousands of organic visits across many websites. And it's really easy to share with writers. So this is essentially a way to give them the inputs they need so that they can go through and give you a product that's going to be well optimized and more poised to get you better results. And to do this, we are going to leverage ChatGPT and Claude.ai to give us some of those initial outputs that we'll plug into this outline here. You can see the template structured like this. We have the target keyword at the top. This will be your keyword that you're targeting for the page, obviously. Then we have the meta title, meta description. Then we have the URL string. So this will be what that URL will look like. I see a lot of times when people are creating content outlines, they'll forget to put the URL string there. And that is a very important component when it comes to ranking for keywords. You want to make sure you're using your target keyword in that URL string, or at least mirroring what the competition is doing to rank. Then we have the word count section, and then we get into the page outline itself. So the page outline itself, as you'll see as we go through, but essentially this will be where we list all of the different headers, explain what types of paragraph text we want within each header, and so forth. Then we list out the internal linking strategy. Internal linking is, of course, a very important part of SEO. We want to make sure we're linking to the most relevant pages across our website. And so we'll end up listing those pages here. If it's a newer site, obviously there might not be as many pages to link to, but this is really good for an established site with, or at least a site that has, multiple pages to link to. And then, of course, over time, you can reverse engineer, go back and add more internal links to those older blogs. But it's a really important step that, again, a lot of people will bypass. And then the FAQs. So with a lot of our content, we will have FAQs at the bottom. It's really good for UX. I think it helps give people more information, a little more insight than what they might have expected going into the page. And it can keep them on the page longer, reading through that content. So I think it's a really good UX signal overall. And then at the bottom, we will add reference material. So if we're looking at a competitor site that's performing really well, we'll list the URL here. We don't mean for them to go in and copy the competitor. We just want to give you an example of maybe a style or a structure that we like and we can tell is performing well. And just to kind of keep that in mind as you go through and write your original content. But to do this, nowadays, we always start with ChatGPT to give us sort of a baseline sense of what the page will look like. We're not going to scrape it exactly, but we're going to get at least some ideas for some of the subheadings and so forth. So let's say our target keyword is, I should have thought of this beforehand. Let's say boat supplies. Okay, so let's say this is a page about boat supplies. Why not? I don't know why I thought of that. This is how we would basically write the brief. So we'd say, provide a detailed content outline for a page. And actually, this might not be a good example because this would probably be a product page. Let's say, I need to think about this one. For target keyword, let's say how to fix a leak. How to fix a leaky faucet. Okay, sure, why not? For a blog post targeting how to fix a leaky faucet. And then if you're going to write about this, you're probably representing a plumbing company, or maybe you're just a DIY website like a Bob Vila, something like that. But you'd say something like, we need the full structure for the page, including H2s and H3s, FAQs, and anything else that is relevant. We are a DIY website providing home improvement content to users. And we'll start with that. And it's going to take some tuning here and there. So we'll just have to read through and see what it gives us initially. But you notice it's providing those codes, so it's giving us it's not just saying identifying the type of faucet, it's saying H2, H3, and so forth. That's what we want, because ultimately in this outline, we are going to do something like this essentially. So it would be H2, and then we'll put the name of the H2, right? So let's go back to here. So how to fix a leaky faucet, identify the type. First, it's an overview, an introduction paragraph, then it's identifying the type of faucet. So this would be good too if you have, if you sell faucets, or you have affiliate, associations with faucets, a faucet brand. This would be a good opportunity for that. You could add sections on that, and then you could even, just thinking ahead here, you could even build more blogs, more content that targets the specific faucets on their own. So there's a lot of directions you can go with this. Then it gets into the tools, then it gets into the step-by-step how to fix it. This is pretty good out of the box. There might be some tweaks we would make, but I think it's a good start. Brief overview of the problem, why they are common. So we'll start like this. Why, or we'll say what causes a leaky. Actually, let's do this. So, because typically you'll have an introduction, then you'll have the subheader underneath that. So let's say, so for the first one, I would just put introduction, no subheader above, just paragraph text, right? So it'll just be, you'll have the H1 at the top, which is the title of the page, but you won't have a subheader. So typically we'll do this page title, and then we'll get into the content itself. But within each section, what we do is, so we'll have introduction, or it'll say H2, whatever, and then we'll go down, and then within the subsection, we'll say rights, or we'll just say briefly describe a leaky faucet, why it happens, and why it's annoying and needs to be fixed. Okay, then we go back to here. So obviously your intro is going to be somewhat of an overview of this whole post, but for this example, yeah, we'll kind of just start with that basic, describe the leaky faucet, why it happens, why it's annoying, that sort of thing. And then we'll get into the next section would be H2, identifying the type of faucet. Introduce this section by mentioning the different types, which will transition into this. Okay, and then this is where we end up with these H3s like we have here. So this is where we'd add compression faucets, ball faucets, cartridge faucets, ceramic disc faucets, right? So it'd be like that. Find this. Find this. And it also depends on how you work with your writers. So we give our writers a lot of latitude when it comes to what they want to include, what details they want to include. But that's because we vet them and we've worked with most of them a long time. If you're working with a newer writer, or maybe you want a little more quality control, then you can get much more detailed in these sort of subsections here. You can have an A, you could have a B and a C. You could say, you could say include this and add an external link to here. There's this resource, that kind of thing. You can get really, really detailed with it. But assuming that you have a good relationship with your writer, then you just continue like this. So for this, this section about tools, I think it's good to have. I would probably reword this and say tools for fixing a faucet. And you might want to do a little keyword research on some of these as well. just to make sure you're wording it the right way. And maybe there's a better way to do it. Like maybe you reformat these as questions, right? And do more of an NLP play where it's like, what are the different types of faucets? What tools do you need for fixing a faucet? And then you respond, the tools you need for fixing a faucet include, so. There's different ways to do it. You just have to kind of research the specific topic itself. But you can kind of see how this is going to look, right? So then we get to the step-by-step guide, and it's going to be exactly, just more of the same of how we do this. I probably would say step-by-step guide, something like 6 steps for fixing a leaky faucet. And then I would just, go in from there. So I would do, 6 steps. Faucet. Now transition into the step-by-step process, yada, yada, right? And then we have H3. This would be step 1 and so forth, right? So I think you probably get the idea by now how this is going to look overall. And again, this is pretty straightforward for a writer. If they're reading through this, these little subsections will help them out a lot. So briefly describe the leaky faucet, introduce this section by mentioning the different types of faucets. This should give them enough information and equip them enough to write a good article. Again, assuming you have a good relationship with the writer. For the internal links, so typically here we'll just list, whichever URLs we want to link out to. This is another area where you can either tighten up the quality controls or you can give them the writer latitude on the internal linking. Usually we'll tell them our methodology behind it, that we want to link to relevant content. And we'll list the content we want to link to. So there is that quality control element. But as far as things like anchor text, sometimes we'll provide the anchor text, but a lot of times we'll just explain to the writer ahead of time. We'll say, for internal linking, we want to make sure that the anchor text is highly relevant to the page you're linking to, so that users understand that what they're clicking on is getting them to the page they expect, because really a lot of it is just meeting user expectations when they click on those links. So we'll list them all there, and then we'll list the FAQs here. Now let's see how they did the FAQs. This is not bad. Why is my faucet leaking even after I replaced the washer? So this touches on a lot of different. Actually, this is a pretty diverse FAQ section. You don't see that very often. A lot of times FAQs will be really repetitive. The nice thing about this is it brings in some secondary keyword and some LSI terms like washer. So now we're talking about specific elements of fixing the leak, different supplies, plumber's tape, mentioning water supply, the phrase faucet repair. So now if you're a service provider, let's say like if we're writing this article for a plumber, then now we're talking about, okay, how long does a typical faucet repair take? So now we can transition into, well, it takes this long, but if you hire us, it'll be half that long, or a quarter that long. So there's a lot of ways you can go with that for sure. But I really like ChatGPT for this, for these initial outlines. I think it does a slightly better job on the outlines than Claude, although I do like Claude's engine better for AI writing in general. So in this case, I'd probably stick with this and just do some edits and probably touch this up a bit. Again, based on the client's needs. We're not going to just copy this verbatim typically. We would make this a lot more varied and more diverse depending on what they're looking for. But I think you get the idea. And the nice thing is you can really use this on any topic. And kind of the next step to it would be to then go and do some manual searches for these keywords. So if your target keyword is how to fix a leaky faucet, you'd want to enter that into Google and just poke around a little bit and make sure that it lines up with some of the topic sections they're suggesting in chat. Here's one of the top results. This is from Rainbow Restoration. Don't know them, but they're a restoration company. So you can look through the post and you can get a sense of what they're doing. It's a fairly lengthy posts, but you can see right away it's a great user experience because here we land on the blog, we get request an appointment. It's a huge button right there. We get a phone number. It's also a huge button. And right as we scroll through, we see there's links to some credible resources.gov. So we know that we're going to want to include some external links, some relevant external links. So then typically in the outline, I would make mention of that. And this is one thing that we probably should just add to our templates, but I would also add an external linking section. You either add an external link, or a lot of times we'll just put it in here and we'll say, when you're in the introduction, also reference, add an external link and reference a statistic from a credible government resource, that kind of thing. So just so the writer understands what to look for. A lot of times they'll just add it on their own because our writers are good like that. But it never hurts to just include a mention of that if you're looking for a specific type of link. But you can see here they have a graphic, which is great. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's fine. Graphics are good. They can be good for UX a lot of times. But we can see here they're getting right into the tips. So it says turn off the water supply, remove the faucet handle, find the source. Then it explains the type of faucets, okay? And this ties into a larger Google concept about, like we said before with the NLP thing. Essentially, you want to respond to the search query as quickly as possible in a really natural flow. You don't want to bloviate. You don't want to have these huge intros, which kind of goes against what we have here, honestly. And this is why you always look at what's ranking. So we took this from chat, and this was more of an example than anything. If we were doing this for real, we would strip this out and we would place the step-by-step guide at the top of the page. 100%. 100%. We'd put the step-by-step guide first, like they have it in this example. We'd obviously leave the types of faucets because that seems to still be important. And we'd actually expand on it because they have quite a few additional types that we do not have. So that would be really important to include. You can see they also have a YouTube video. They have a pretty good YouTube channel there. So you can just tell from top to bottom, this post is very good. I mean, this is exactly the kind of stuff that you want to give Google and give users ultimately to give them what they want. So hope this helped you out there. Again, this template is pretty bare bones, but it's honestly very effective, especially when you're talking about building content for service pages or simple blog posts. If you're getting more detailed and there's a lot more nuance involved, this might not cut it. But I think for the simpler types of content, this is a really, really good template, and we've generated a lot of traffic using it. If you'd like access to this template, I'd be happy to share it. Just leave a comment and we can send it right over for you to get started. Thanks a lot.